Apologies about the delay. I do apologise if you've been waiting. We've just finished recording a podcast with a former Watford FC defender, which is one to look out for. That'll be out tomorrow. So sorry for the timings. It's my bad. But the news today, the news yesterday, and we're going to be talking about today, is Abdoulaye Doucouré has joined Everton in a deal worth around £22 million, according to Adam Leventhal, plus add-ons. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on it today. Get your guys' thoughts with this new software called StreamYard, and I can put your comments onto the screen and we can have a little discussion about them. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, that'd be much appreciated. We've hit 5,250 subscribers, which is amazing. So I really do appreciate the support at the moment. We've got plenty more content on the way ahead of Middlesbrough on Friday, plenty more previews, reaction and reviews as well. So make sure you do hit the subscribe button and don't forget to like the video as well if you do enjoy. And as I said, leave your comments in the live chat. Even if you're watching this after it's been uploaded, I still read through your comments. So if you don't get involved in the live chat or you're just watching this now, then in the comments as well, let me know your thoughts and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. So Abdoulaye Doucouré. Now, I know people are already saying in the chat, £20 million. Now, it's around £20 million. Yeah, there's definitely add-ons involved, which could definitely see the fee rise. Adam Leventhal, who's the most trusted Watford source, said it's 22 with add-ons. Other sources, Sky Sports, etc., The Guardian, are saying it's around £20 million. So it's around that ballpark figure anyway. And I think the first thing to say is it's a good deal for both parties. I think both for Watford and Everton. I don't really see anyone coming out the deal in a particularly, I don't know, what's the word? I don't think Watford have benefited more than Everton, or Everton have benefited more than Watford. The fact of the matter is Abdoulaye Doucouré was going to leave Watford one way or the other this transfer window. He's one of the players after the Arsenal game when we were officially relegated that he thought we won't be seeing him in a Watford shirt again. And I think there's a couple of others to come in that respect. I think Delafeu is one of them, Capoue potentially as well. I think Abdoulaye Doucouré, it was nailed on that he was going to be leaving Watford. And it did hurt me seeing him leave, to be honest with you. When I saw him in the Everton kit, I thought, one that's got away. But when I took the emotion out of it, I think it's a great deal for both parties. From a Watford perspective, we've got a fee for him, which is almost double what we paid for him from Rennes. And again, that just highlights the business that the Potsos do. They're very, very shrewd when it comes to business like that. Another player, obviously, we sold to Everton is Richarlison, bought him for around 11.5 to 13 and sold him on for 50. I know that probably included the Marco Silva compensation, but you get the picture. We made a big profit on him. And Abdoulaye Doucouré, not as big profit as the Richarlison deal, but certainly we've pretty much doubled our money and we've got 3 good seasons out of Abdoulaye Doucouré, really. I think the highlight for me in a Watford shirt from seeing him would be 2017-18. I really felt that Doucouré made that central midfield spot his own, and we saw towards the back end of that season, rather, when Javi came in, his relationship with Capoue started to blossom, and that carried on into the next season. Now, I don't think Doucouré was brilliant last season by any stretch. I think actually at times Capoue did carry him. And I think particularly if they're Everton fans watching this, he needs a midfield partner next to him who probably reads the game well and breaks up play. And that's probably what they're looking at in Allen, who they've signed as well. And obviously James Rodriguez to play a little bit further forward. But I'm sure Doucouré will be deployed as a box-to-box midfielder. I don't think there's any doubt about that. That's where his qualities lie, his energy, his power. I think what needs to be worked on from his game is his decision-making. The positions he gets himself in, he should score more goals. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think he was our top goal scorer in 2017-18, but he still should have got more. And I think that actually shows the lack of goals we had in that season, really, overall. But yeah, I just think he's got a lot of qualities that he'll bring to Everton. And I think particularly his physical attributes in terms of his power, his energy, but also his passing ability, I think is very good. It's just the decision-making in the final third. I mean, technically, he's a very good player, I think. But it's just those in the final third, those key decisions is probably what he needs to work on a little bit. But I think Everton have got themselves a really good deal there, and I think Watford have got a good deal as well. Now, at the start of the season, we rejected a bid around 32 million for Abdoulaye Doucouré, and people will say, should we have cashed in earlier? Probably in hindsight we should have. but we can't predict the future. And I think some fans would have said, had we have sold him, then it wouldn't have been ambitious. We're selling our best players at kind of a good opportunity. We probably kept him for one season too many, and I don't think maybe there would have been that many complaints had we have sold him last season. I think there was a big decision when we could have sold him to PSG for around £50 million, but Watford obviously valued him more than that. I think at one point it was around 70 million during that season. I think it was the January window, and then we offered him the 5-year deal. So there's if buts and maybes with this Abdoulaye Doucouré deal and his time at Watford, whether we should have sold him earlier or sold him later. I just think when you look at it without any emotion, it's a good deal for both parties. As I said, I think the price we've got and the deal we've got him for is what he's worth. And I think Everton have got themselves a good player for the level. Now, is he good enough to really push for Europe? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think so. I think he's on the periphery of a top 6 player. I just think he lacks a little bit of quality in the final third, particularly this season. But certainly there's a player there. And working under Carlo Ancelotti, one of the best managers in the game, I'm sure we'll see his game get taken to the next level. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets on at Everton. But no hard feelings towards Doucouré. I think it's the correct move for him. The right club, really, for him to try and step up and push for the top 6. Because at the minute, I don't think he's a top 6 player, but I think he can become that, particularly under Ancelotti, as I mentioned. And at a club like Everton, who are looking to break into the top 6. Let me have a little read of your thoughts down the comment section below. There's 24 of you watching at the moment, so really do appreciate that. Let's have a look. Joel Thomas Williams says it's a bargain. I would say it's a good deal. I don't think either side has got a good deal out of it. I think both sides have got a good deal out of it. Josh says if Carlo gets the best out of him, he'll be great for them. I have to agree with you, Josh. There's definitely a player there. It's just whether Ancelotti can really take his game to the next level. Hannah says in the chat, do you think the injuries are really injuries? I'm not too sure, Hannah. I think there's certain players I think we all know are going to be leaving Watford. I think the likes of Pereira are pretty much nailed on to go. I know Delafeu is going to be coming back into training, but is he going to even make it to London Colney? I don't think so. I think he'll probably be on his way. Andre Gray's the one I didn't really expect. From what I was told, it was a spasm and it got turned into it didn't get turned into. It was a hamstring injury in the end, so it wasn't as serious as the club first thought. But yeah, I think there's certain players. I think the likes of Pereira won't be staying this season and won't be staying beyond October. I think Capoue will most likely be off. I think the team that we've seen in the pre-season games against Scunthorpe and Tottenham, they're the teams that we're going to be, or the squad rather, that I think will be deployed against Middlesbrough this Friday. So I think I kind of get the tone of the comment, Hannah, and I have to agree with you. I don't think they are really injuries. I think it's just to stop any potential injuries that could happen, to stop any moves for the likes of Pereira, etc. Because he has been in training. I saw a couple of clips of him. As you say, good deal for both clubs, says Lil JYB. Let's see some other comments. If you want to ask me anything Watford related, then do let me know. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the Doucouré deal. I wish him the best of luck. I think he's been a fantastic servant for Watford. At no point did he kick up a fuss. At no point did he hand in a transfer request that we know about. And I think you've just got to respect him for that. You know, he could have at the end of the last season gone, you know what, I'm making it clear I want to leave. He probably did, but he didn't make it public and he didn't make it unsavoury. And I actually thought his comment and his tweet basically saying goodbye to the Watford fans was really classy. I'll just read it out here. Really lovely touch from him. Some people say it's being media savvy, but he didn't have to post this. There's been plenty of players in the past who have left Watford who haven't done some of these messages. And he said, I would like to thank Watford for giving me the opportunity to play and to be successful in the Premier League. I felt adopted by the fans from day one. Thank you for your support during these 4 years. I wish you the best of luck and a speedy return to the Premier League. 1, 2, 3, 4, #always. And that's, to be fair, when I saw that, you know, you don't want to be, I wasn't upset, but it hurt a little bit that with the fact we had a really classy midfielder in Abdoulaye Doucouré, and ultimately our Premier League status has kind of cost us maybe us keeping him. Having said that, for the last 18 months, he hasn't really been great, so he probably would have left anyway. He's 27 now, so he did need a move to a bigger club, because Everton are a bigger club than Watford, but in terms of a team looking to push for Europe, I don't know if Watford were really... I mean, we had that opportunity, didn't we, in 18-19 under Javi, where we were on the cusp of really breaking into the 7th spot, and it felt like that FA Cup run, not going back to it, but did have a detrimental impact on that charge. And that was probably our opportunity, best opportunity in recent times to achieve Europe. But I wish Abdoulaye Doucouré the best of luck. He's handled the situation brilliantly. A very lovely message and a class touch for him to put that tweet out and thank the Watford fans for their support. And yeah, I think Everton have got themselves a good player there who can really take his performances to the next level under someone like Ancelotti. So all the best to Abdoulaye Doucouré. Let's have a little read through your comments before we wrap it up. Got loads of comments. Thank you so much for getting involved, guys. Really do appreciate it. What do you think about Forestieri at Udinese? It's a weird one because I'm disappointed and not disappointed with the Forestieri deal not really materialising. On the one hand, it would have been nice to see him in a Watford shirt again. But again, similar to the Doucouré deal, if you take the emotion out of it, would it have been a good deal for Watford? Probably not. Forestieri is 30 years old now and he's getting on a bit, and he wouldn't have been guaranteed first-team football at Watford. I don't think so. I think that obviously we've got Gray, if he stays, Luis Suarez, if he stays, Stipe Pereira, Glenn Murray, even Success potentially as well. I don't know what his future's like at Watford. But would you have really... He probably would have been 4th or 5th striker. So, yeah, it made sense why he was at the Watford training ground because he was doing his medical at Watford, I'd imagine, because that's happened before when we were trying to do the Papagay deal to join Watford. He did his medical at Udinese. So this happens all the time, and I imagine there's quite a lot of players who turn up at Watford's training ground but don't actually sign for Watford. So, yeah, best of luck to Fessy, as we used to call him. I hope he does really well there. And obviously he was a free agent as well, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on out in Deeney. What would be a good offer for Gerard Deulofeu? For me, I think if we're talking without the injury, you're looking at about 30 million plus. But with the injury, it does just change things, I think, because there's always that risk there. If you're buying an injured player, whether it's on loan or with an option to, or an obligation to buy, or just straight up buying a player, there's always going to be a bit in the back of the club's mind going, is it worth that amount? And they'll try and get the best deal possible. I think with Deulofeu, it's one of those, the longer it gets drawn out, the cheaper the bid will be. Similar to the Pereira situation. I think Watford will probably get around 25 million euros for him. If that 20 to 25, the injury is just going to massively disrupt his price tag. And that's not to say he won't recover, because I think he will recover. But because of the nature of the injury he suffered, it's always very difficult for a club to come in with 35, which is probably what he's worth when he's fully fit. But it just takes a little bit off. And the fact to a relegated side, probably looking to sell Deulofeu, yeah, it's all in the buyer's favour to get a good deal out of it. So it will be disappointing, similar to Doucouré. Actually, more disappointing rather to see Deulofeu go than Doucouré. But I think 20 to 25 is probably what Watford are going to get for him. Nigel says, do you think Ivic will be sacked by Christmas? I hope not. But I tell you what, I listened to his interview with the club yesterday, and I really like the sound of him. Really do. I think he's an ambitious, progressive coach. I like the mentality he's already instilling to the players. You know, the expectation is first place, and nothing less is acceptable. Promotion, nothing less than promotion acceptable, and we're aiming for first spot. And that mentality is what he's obviously taken over from PAOK and Maccabi Tel Aviv. And I think that winning mentality is something that will be a big shift for these Watford players. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously the players that are leaving the club. But for these young, the likes of Kina, Ngakia, Luis Suarez, Estupinan, these players haven't really been involved in a title-winning team at any level, really. Zaragoza with Luis Suarez, of course, but just in general, a lot of these players haven't been used to winning things. And I think the fact that Ivic knows how to win, regardless of the league, and I know people are saying, "Oh, it's a big fish in a small pond" in Maccabi Tel Aviv in their league, but I'd argue Watford are in the Championship to an extent as well, just because they come down to the Premier League. And I think that's the case with all the Premier League teams that come down. There's an expectation that you need to win and come straight back up. And I think that mentality and the experience he's had in those situations will be pivotal, particularly in a long championship season. So I really hope Ivic does well, and I like the sound of him already. And obviously, time will tell if he's the right man to take us up. But from what I'm hearing, he seems like he's going to do a good job for us, and I hope so anyway. Frankie Holiday says, do you think West Brom have made a U-turn on Troy Deeney after his interview? Now, I saw Troy's interview, I think, with the Sun, an exclusive featured interview. And I wasn't a massive fan of it at all, really. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think he needs to be saying that. It looked like he was looking for a move. And I know he said that he would never hand in a transfer request, but he basically outlined that he's a Premier League striker and he can still play at that level. And he only had one leg last season. And I'm not denying he didn't have his problems with his knee injuries. I just feel that they're the wrong sort of comments as a captain you should be making. And if he is staying, completely the wrong comments. But I doubt he would make those comments if he didn't think he was leaving. If you get what I mean? I don't think he would have said that. Potentially he probably would have, but then he made comments comparing to Joel Linton. And I don't think for me it's the fact that he's saying that. And I'd be a hypocrite saying I didn't enjoy Deeney's candid interviews. I think they're fantastic. But there's a time and place for them. And I just think it's just not the right thing to do at this moment in time. And it's a lot of me, rather than focusing on the bigger picture. And I don't know whether he'd make those comments if he knew he was staying, personally. So we'll have to wait and see. Whether they made a U-turn over those comments, I don't think so. I remember Deeney did an interview and he suggested that, and he basically suggested that I think it was Spurs who were in for him, and it was Spurs. It was a big club. I think it was Arsenal or Spurs, and one of them basically said to him, if you were to join, you'd have to kind of tone it down a bit with the interviews, and he rejected that completely. So that's his personality. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think there's a time and place to do it. And looking at, I know it's been a little bit of time now, but there's loads of changes going on at Watford, and I don't really see what good that interview does just for the bigger picture. So that's my take on it. I don't know whether West Brom have done a U-turn, but I definitely think Deeney's personality, as with all players, are definitely considered when they make an approach for a player. I think a personality is a massive part of a deal, really, because if it's the wrong character, they're not going to fit in the dressing room. So that's definitely something to consider with every player who joins, not just Deeney, but I'm pretty sure that with Luke Dowling being, I think, the sporting director at West Bromwich Albion, he used to be at Watford, that he'll know Deeney's nature, he'll know his character, he'll know his personality, and he'll know that he's a very honest and straight up person and personality. So it'll be interesting to see. I think the move to West Brom is probably the most likely one that I've seen so far. Predictions for Friday. I don't want to speak too soon, but that reminds me, Shane will be doing a match preview over the coming days. Well, it'll probably be out tomorrow, so make sure you do look out for that. Shane's back with the match previews, which I'm sure you will love as well. I remember last season Shane was really popular with those, so make sure you do check those out. Josh says, what are your opinions on Sirialta and Pareka? I'll start with Sirialta. It was interesting, the fact that I'm pretty sure we signed him, but we didn't announce him. He was involved with both the Scunthorpe and the Spurs game, and there were rumours that he was on trial. I don't know how true that was. What I've read about him is that he's a ball-playing centre-half, and I think that's someone we did need. He's 6'4". I've read some things about him in terms of his positioning. He's not electric. He's not slow, but he's not electric. His positioning could be a problem, and maybe his turn of pace. But I haven't watched enough of him to really comment at the moment. But I do think we needed another centre-back in, and he's a ball-playing centre-back. And I think the way Ivic, I keep saying Ivic is trying to set up Watford with a 3 at the back in possession and 5 at the back out of possession. It needs the centre-backs to drive out with the ball, and he's a good player for depth, I think, from what I'm reading. So, yeah, there's some things about his game that I'm not too sure about, but certainly we needed depth, and I don't think he'll be first choice. So I don't really see a lot wrong with the deal, personally. Having said that, though, we signed him on a permanent from Udinese, so that frees up an opportunity to bring in a loan player. And I know we've been linked with Truce and Kong from Udinese, the centre-back. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that one to see if that materialises. And will we see a lineup prediction video? Would you like to see the lineup prediction videos? I can certainly get one out for you. it's probably better to do it as a separate video rather than doing it here. But if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like on the video as well. Johnsy says, do you think Sarr will stay? I think there's a high chance Sarr will stay. Now, as we all know, he was given the permission to go back to Senegal to see his family, which I think was obviously lovely of the club to do that. But that also meant that when he got back to England, he was quarantined for 2 weeks, as is with all the COVID-19 measures at the moment. So that's why we haven't seen him in training. I believe he was back in training yesterday. There was definitely a picture of him today in training. So he's back. He's not going to be available for the Middlesbrough game. It's so difficult to call with Sarr. I don't think he will. Now, someone's probably going to clip this up and go, oh, Jacob, you got it wrong. But I don't know whether a team will pay 40 million for Sarr. And that's what Watford want. They want 40 million plus. Now, we saw with the Ollie Watkins deal to Aston Villa, them paying, I think it was around £30 million. And that makes Sarr look like a great deal, if I'm completely honest. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I'd be very surprised, I think, unless it was a team like Liverpool who came in for him, that he would leave just because of the financial situation of the transfer market and how coronavirus had a big impact on it. It would be, I'd be very surprised to see someone maybe spend 40 million on Sarr, who, although is a fantastic player, has only had one season in the Premier League. So it'd be a bit of a gamble, I guess, for certain clubs. And I'd be surprised if Watford let him go on a loan, to be honest with you. I'd prefer to just keep him and then, well, moving on permanently rather than loan him out, I think. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. I think it's very unlikely because Watford want 40 million plus. Josh says, how do you reckon Tom Dele-Bashiru will do? I have to say it was brilliant to see him feature against Spurs. I thought he looked comfortable on the ball. I think the relationship he's already starting to build with Keane is a really exciting one. And just touching on Keane, I mean, he's so talented. It's almost criminal that he hasn't played that much football really in the past couple of seasons. But I think Dele-Bashiru is definitely one to watch this season. Technically very good, reads the game well, and looks comfortable next to Keane. And I think that's a really, as I said, exciting prospect of those two playing together this season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But signs are really good so far. Sorry, I've just Hayden says, do you think we'll be back in the Premier League next season? If not, how long will it take? I mean, it's anyone's guess, isn't it, Hayden? I think we've got enough quality. Experience could be a problem, potentially, just because of the youth of the squad. I think we need a blend of Championship experience, and that's why we've brought in Glenn Murray, of course. I just think it may be... I think we'll be pushing, for sure. We'll be pushing for a promotion. I think that's an expectation I have anyway. I think we've got to at least be pushing for the playoffs, if not automatics, as Ivic said. But it's so unpredictable, the Championship. They say it's the toughest league in the world for a reason, because of the nature of the opposition, because of the amount of fixtures, the fixture schedule. It's so difficult, and the different style of teams you play. And that's the only concern I have. And that's with any season. Even when we got promoted under Jukanovic in that 4-manager season, it was still the apprehension of potentially the Championship just being a little bit too much. But I think we'll give it a good go. No doubt about that. And hopefully we do anyway. Hannah says, really do appreciate the questions, guys. It's great to see you interacting. Do you think we are relying too much on younger players who haven't had much league experience? Yeah, potentially. I think to an extent. It's very difficult to have a massive overhaul of the squad. So there's always going to be a risk with certain players not having a lot of Championship experience. Now, I think it's quality you need to have, but I think it's a balance. You don't want a complete team of Championship stalwarts because there's not a lot of energy in it. You need a bit of unpredictability with youth. I think the likes of Ngakia, I think Wilmot really is perfect for the Championship because he's young and he's also got Championship experience with the season at Swansea. So I think he'll be brilliant this season, hopefully. Ngakia, Keane, Dele-Bashiru, I think Estupinan, these sort of players, they've got so much quality. It's just whether they'll have enough nous, I guess, with the Championship and the schedule. It's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out, Hannah. But yeah, to an extent, I agree with you. But also, I find it exciting that we've got these players who are hungry to play for the club again. I mean, it's been a while since I look at the team sheet and go, you know what, these players want to be at Watford, they want to play at Watford, and they seem like they want to play under Ivic as well. I mean, Cleverley in his press conference today was really encouraging to hear him speak so positively about Ivic. And I think Cleverley will be important this season, his experience. I think Watford have got a nice balance, potentially more on the youth side than the experience, but certainly there's players there, the likes of Foster, Glenn Murray, Tom Cleverley, even Kabasele. I mean, these players, and Cathcart as well. You know, we forget about these players, but they're going to be so important for us, and even Andre Gray as well. So that balance between youth and experience is so important in the Championship. And I think Watford are maybe one signing or so away from really hitting the balance. Potentially more, as I said, more on the youthful side at the moment. But I think I'm really excited for this season, and I think the squad we've got is going to give the Championship a real good go. Who else have we got? Thanks so much for the questions. Harry, I just talked about the Ivic interview. I was really impressed. Answered about Sirialta. Do you think Bachmann will start on Friday? Oh, that is a difficult one. I don't know the reason why Foster wasn't playing against Spurs. So it'll be interesting to see if Bachmann does play. I thought he looked good with his feet, looked comfortable on the ball, made a couple of good saves, and I think Bachmann's probably good enough to play this season. That was my pen. But yeah, I think Bachmann's good enough to play the season. I think obviously Foster's number one choice, but it's interesting to see. Well, it would be interesting to find out why Foster wasn't featured against Spurs. Was there an injury behind that? I'm not too sure. I know he did an interview with Sky Sports the other day and didn't mention anything there. He's not going anywhere. So I'd imagine if Foster is fit, he will start. But if he's not, I think Bachmann will hopefully do a good enough job to fill in between the sticks. The last couple, guys, really do appreciate all the comments, and obviously this will be up as a video afterwards if you want to watch it back. Glenn Murray is the GOAT, mate. How's it going, Rudy? Good to see you, buddy. Will Sarr be available Friday? He won't be available, unfortunately. Ivic confirmed today in his press conference. Toby Bennett says, do you think Deeney's staying? I don't think so. I think the signing of Glenn Murray, for me, pretty much confirmed that Troy's off, which will obviously be a really sad day, seeing a legend like him leave the club. But it was going to have to come one day, and I think we're in a bit of transition at the moment. And if there was going to be a time for Troy to leave, I think it would probably be now. Michael says, with the likes of Gibson and Mawson signing for our rivals, do you reckon we can improve centre-backs this window? Now, with the signing of Sirialta, there's obviously an area that we're targeting. As I said, with the transfer market being so unpredictable, utilising Udinese's supply of players is going to be vital, as we've seen this summer already with Pareka and Sirialta coming in. I think Trusten Kong's the one to watch out for. He's someone who has been watched by Watford. I think there has been some interest there, and I think he'd be a good signing for us. I really do. I think he'd go straight into the team, and would probably be a starter for us. I don't think Sirialta will be, but I think Trusten Kong is probably the one centre-back that is realistic and could probably improve our centre-back options. Liverpool fan, a great YouTube channel you have. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comment. Really do appreciate it. Thoughts on Ngakia, Suleiman? He looks really decent. I have to agree with you, Suleiman. He's a real bright prospect, isn't he? I think technically he looks comfortable on the ball. He played a brilliant pass, didn't he, the other day to Andre Gray. It was Kevin De Bruyne-esque, I think, as someone. I think it was Lou Ons on Twitter. He said it was Jeremy, KDB, and Ngakia. So I'd have to agree with him. It was a beautiful pass, just in behind the Spurs back line. But I think he looks like a real talent. I know it's only pre-season. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but certainly there's a bright talent in Jeremy Ngakia. And I think a run of games and we'll see a big improvement from him from his West Ham days. And Domingos Quina, as I said, is another one. Two West Ham players, two prospects who can really blossom into two fantastic players. And hopefully the Championship will give them the opportunity to show their quality. Let's have a little look. We've got Holly. No worries about that. If you've only just joined the stream, you can obviously watch it back when it's uploaded after this. Holly says, sorry if you've already discussed this. I think we have about Forestieri. Do you think we'll get Forestieri on loan? Oh, no, someone didn't ask this. They said, what were your thoughts on Forestieri going to Udinese? Do you think we will get Forestieri on loan from Udinese? I don't think so. The reason being, I did a little bit of digging on Forestieri's Instagram. He started following Udinese, which suggests most times when a player follows a certain account or a club, they're pretty much joining them. And also, he put on his Instagram story that he's excited for this new chapter. Now, that suggests to me that he's in Udinese's plans for this season. Now, the question is obviously with the close relationship with Udinese and Watford, both being owned by the Pozzos, that is obviously, there's a chance that can happen. There's an opportunity for that to happen. I don't think it will happen. And I think the reason he was at Watford's training ground was because he was getting his medical done before he moved to Udinese. And that happened with, as I said before, I think earlier on in the video, Pape Gay, who obviously moved to Marseille in the end after that massive legal saga. I think that's still going on at the minute, actually. But Pape Gay actually had his Watford medical in Deeney at Udinese's training ground before he flew to, he didn't actually turn up to Watford's training ground in the end, but before he was going to join Watford. So this does happen quite a bit. And I think that's the reason he was at Watford's training ground, was because he was securing his medical and getting that all completed and finalised and the terms of his contract. So I'd imagine he will be going to Udinese and won't be coming to Watford. That's not to rule it out. I just think that was probably the reason he was at Watford's training ground, and it's happened before. So it will be interesting to see if it does happen. I don't think it will, Holly, but great question nonetheless. Do you think Deeney can stay? I said a little bit earlier that I don't think he will, but I think West Brom are probably his most likely destination, because he said he's a Premier League striker who wants to play Premier League football. Dan the little man said, I think 22 mil for Doucouré wasn't enough. I completely understand where you're coming from, Dan. I think had it been at the start of last season, we probably could have got 10 million more for him, around 30 to 32, I think. But with us being relegated, with him wanting the move, I think Watford would have said 20 million, you can go, because they weren't going to keep a player who didn't want to be here, unhappy. And I think, to be honest, the way he played last season, 22 million is probably about what he's worth. And that's nothing against him, but he didn't hit the heights that he had in previous seasons. So I think it's a good deal for both parties. Shazmir TV says, do you think Matt Grimes will join? And if so, will he be available to fill Doucouré's void? Do I think he'll join? Touch and go. I think it's around 8 million we want for him. We were about to offer 8 million for him. Will he be able to fill Doucouré's void? I don't think he'd fill Doucouré's void. I think he'd fill Capu's void, because he plays as almost that number 6, he drops deeper in that Capu role rather. Doucouré's more of a box to box, so he would be filling Capu's void, who I think will be leaving Watford at some point. The Watford Way, make sure you check out their content on Twitter and YouTube. James says, I think it's Troy's time to go. Fantastic servant for the club, but it's time to move in a different direction. In a new direction, and rebuild a young, hungry squad. I have to agree with you, James. I think there's a time and place. All good things come to an end, and I think it's no different with Deeney. And a Watford legend will always be a Watford legend. Will most likely at some point have a statue or a stand named after him because of his status at the football club. But that sometimes good things have to come to an end. And as you said, James, he's been a fantastic servant for the club. But Watford are going in a different direction to Troy, I think. Troy wants to be playing Premier League football. Watford want to be rebuilding a young, youthful squad mixed with the experienced players, the likes of Glenn Murray, Tom Cleverley, Ben Foster, Craig Cathcart. I think there's a nice blend of youth and experience. But I just think the Glenn Murray signing says to me, a similar player like Troy, obviously older than Troy, but a target man. I just think it suggests to me that he's on his way. And it will be a sad day, no doubt about that, but I think it needs to happen at some point. Ollie Dukes says, whereabouts do you sit in the Vic? That's the Upper Graham Taylor stand near the 1881. Alex King, are you actually nervous about not going up? I honestly can't see any reason why we won't go back up. Yeah, I'm confident in the squad, Alex. I think we've got enough quality. It's just whether we can meet the demands of the Championship season. I really do believe that. I think we've got enough quality to go back up. There's no doubt about that. Potentially an issue which may arise is squad depth. I think Ivic said in his press conference today, we've got 18 players fit, which is not a lot to choose from at all. So I think we need a couple of players in, just because with other players leaving and injuries, etc. As we saw with the club's announcement today, there are quite a few injuries. But I'm not nervous about the quality and the talent in this club, in the squad. What I am nervous about is potentially whether 46 games in the Championship season may just be a little bit too much if we don't bring in some more players, because I think we're lacking a little bit of depth in certain areas, especially with players leaving. And that's the problem when you get relegated. It's that transition where players who won't want to play Premier League football, Championship football, Doucouré, Pereira, Deulofeu, these guys will be leaving and you need to find replacements. And we're fortunate enough with the Watford setup that we've got the likes of Estupiñán, who comes in at left wing back, Luis Suarez, who comes in at striker. Hopefully he'll stay. So they're almost like new signings for us. But I do think, and obviously with Pareca coming in, phone going off, Pareca coming in and Sirialta, we're making full use of that. So I think it's not that I don't think we've got enough quality. I think it's the depth and potentially the course of the Championship season may taking its toll on the squad. That's probably the only concern I have, but certainly the quality's there, I think. Last few guys before I wrap up. Richard Holland says, will Glenn Murray be a good replacement for Deeney? Will Gray raise his game? From what I've seen of Andre Gray, just to start, he looks like he fits Ivic's system. Really making some good runs. I think there was one point in the second half against Spurs where Keane played a brilliant ball through to him. He didn't have to break stride. I think it was actually a penalty, to be honest with you. But that run is what we didn't see enough of last season. I know Troy's not that type of player, but Andre Gray has the pace. He just didn't use it at the right times. And hopefully Ivic's system will see the best of Andre Gray if he stays, because I know West Brom are interested in a loan deal for him as well. Will Glenn Murray be a good replacement for Deeney? I think he will. Glenn Murray's not going to start every game. He's not. And I think that'll be made pretty aware to him. I know he said he's come to play more football, and I think he will, because he wouldn't have played a lot of football at Brighton. But I think what you get with Glenn Murray is a brilliant character on and off the pitch, someone who will get probably 10 or so goals for you, big goals as well, clinical in front of goal, a good timing of runs. That's a real crucial aspect, I think, because you'll get more time in the Championship. There's no doubt about that. A player like Glenn Murray, who's 37 now, he hasn't got the pace, but he's got the positional awareness. And I think that's a really good quality that he has. And someone to bring on as a plan B, because, we've got very similar strikers in Luis Suarez and Andre Gray. Pareca offers a different option as a target man, but also Glenn Murray offers just something a little bit different. A prolific goal scorer at Championship level, obviously at Crystal Palace and at Brighton, instrumental in their promotion campaign in the 2016-17 season. So I think he'd be a really good asset for us, and I hope he is anyway. But yeah, I think he will be a good replacement for Deeney. In answer to your question, Richard. I'm probably going to take one more. I'm going to do a predicted lineup ahead of the Middlesbrough game, if you'd like to see that. We've just recorded a podcast with a former Watford defender. We put a little clue out on our Twitter that he's had a party at the club before. If you can guess who that is, then do let me know down in the comments. But that'll be out tomorrow, so do make sure you stay tuned for that one. But last question, who is it going to be? Good one from John Z. How many more players do you think we will sign now? Difficult one. I don't think we'll bring in another striker. I think we need another central midfielder. I think we need another centre back. I think with Messina out, we probably need a cover for left back if we're playing in that system in the 3 kind of 5 at the back system. So I think we're looking maybe Whether we'll get them over the line, I'm not too sure, but certainly a central midfielder, a left back. It depends if Kiko goes, then right back. To be honest, John, it's really difficult to say. I think definite ones are a centre back and a central midfielder. And I think if Kiko goes and Messina's still injured, they're probably a left back and a right back. We need some cover on that right hand side with Yanmat being so injury prone. And if Kiko goes, that's one to look out for. But I think Messina is out for several months. So probably, if I was going to say 3 positions that I look to bring someone in, be a centre back, a central midfielder, and a left back, a left wing back. Because Messina's got a tendon injury, I believe, so he'll be out for several months. But that is where I'm going to wrap up the video. That's 40 minutes or so. So thank you very much to everyone who has watched and joined in with the stream. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget to like the video if you did enjoy. I do apologise about the delay on the stream starting. We were supposed to do it for around 6. It's ended up being 6:30. But yeah, I do apologise about that. Make sure you do look out for our content on all of our platforms over the coming weeks. As I said, a podcast for the former Watford FC defender is out tomorrow. Obviously, a match preview ahead of the Middlesbrough game will be out. A predicted lineup. We'll have match reaction, match review. So all the content is coming your way to kick off this 2021 Championship season. As I said, if you did enjoy, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to WD18. We'll be back for some more content in the coming days, and we'll see you very, very soon. Cheers, guys.